All right, welcome everybody to the Productivity Academy weekly Q&A, and this is number 65 and the first one for 2019. If you hear me kind of sniffling, I'm working on a cold, so I'll try to keep it to a minimum and not drive you crazy while you're watching this. Real quick, we're going to cover some great topics today. Two of the questions, the two questions that I've got right now are about finding more time in the day, which is an interesting question for a couple reasons. So I'll get to that in a second. But then also going about building a team. So there wasn't a specific question on this. It's several merged into one about as far as making like that first hire, taking the first steps of building your team and some things around that. So we're going to dive into that shortly. Real quick though, if you're watching live, go ahead. You can ask questions if I have time. I'll answer those in addition to what we're going to cover right now. And if you're watching this elsewhere, probably on YouTube, feel free. You can hit the subscribe button. Stay up to date, obviously, with stuff like this. Get reviews, anything about productivity, time management, processes, stuff I cover like that. And if you want to come join the free Facebook group and join these live, you can find the link in the description as well. Just click that button, click the link rather, and then you've got to answer a couple questions. Just want to make sure that you really want to be in a group about productivity and business automation, stuff like that. So, all right, let's get on into it. So the first question was, how can I find more time in the day? And I said that this was interesting for a couple of reasons. The first being that recently had a course release called Creating Time. And then this is based off of part of a talk that I actually gave this fall and detailing, kind of in an over-the-shoulder type of way of how this actually works, okay? Because no, of course you can't actually create time. I'm not gonna get into that. But, there's a lot of ways that you can go in and look at what you're currently doing. And I know there's a lot of good examples as far and stuff I've talked about, like time tracking. Like do it for a few days, see what you're actually doing during your day and see if there's things you can cut out or move around. But then I think one of the most important things you can do is doing this review and reflection time. And you want to answer a couple questions while you're doing that. Things like, what's working really well? How can you get more out of that or get more results like that? And then how can you start to, maybe automate or delegate things, and even if it's just a few minutes that it saves you, if you start doing this on a regular basis, it really, really starts to snowball over time. And so in my example that I gave in the talk and then now in the course, and this is true, is that, you could create literally like 115 hours in a year, which, 115 hours sounds, I realize, kind of weird, but let's see, I forget exactly what that is. Divide that by 8. So that's like almost 15 working days, which is crazy. So that's almost 3 business weeks. So it can be done, and there's good ways to go about it. But I find that is a great way to do it, is to really spend some time going in and reviewing what's working and spending that time to start automating things, delegating things, or getting rid of things. And of course, there's a system to this, and you can figure it out on your own. There's many ways to go about it. I've got Creating Time course, and then everybody probably can tweak that and make it work for themselves. So anyways, thought that was an interesting question because, a lot of times we kind of laugh about that, how can I find more time in the day? Well, you can't, but you can certainly take a look at how you've arranged things and how your life is set up and adjust accordingly. So good question. So another part of this is kind of the second question about how to build a team or how to get started. Building a team, building something bigger than yourself. And this is a way that you can find more time in the day is if you're starting to reach that point where you feel like you're maxed out, you don't have enough time, you're not spending time correctly, then that might be a good indication that it's time for you to start building a team. And, literally a team could just be you and maybe one really part-time person. I know a lot of the objections that we've heard about hiring an assistant of some sort or outsourcing is cost, which is certainly, a factor. Not understanding how to find the correct people, or they've tried it, gotten burned, had a bad experience, and then not sure how to manage or kind of maintain a team. Okay. And I'm going to talk to mostly the first two, the cost. It's certainly true. I consider it an investment in more ways than one. And if you literally cannot afford someone, then that's it. You can't. But I think a lot of times, you start thinking, I've got to hire a full-time person, or I've got to do this or that. If you right now don't have anyone working for you, I think, start off by having someone do some repetitive tasks that you're doing right now for maybe even an hour or two a week. Okay, it wouldn't have to be much, maybe literally just an hour or two, because it gets you in the habit of managing. You're also now freeing up that hour or two of those tasks, and you can usually get this type of stuff done for a very low cost, okay? And we'll go into that a little bit more, but I found that is the best way to do it. Like a lot of things in life, you just have to kind of take that step at some point, but you don't want to just jump, and we'll go into that. But I do encourage you to take that step while also ensuring success by going through the stuff we're going to talk about. All right, so one, the things that we can do as far as what you want to do with someone is kind of go, I've got the pre-hire checklist. Actually, I'll include the link to that in here, and I'll do that right now. I think that this is something you can read through, and I won't go into this in detail, but I talked about having an idea of what you want people to do and being prepared for it. So before you take that first step, you want to start with the big ideas, like, what is it that you want someone to do? And I think people get this confused sometimes and think, well, I'm growing or I'm busy, I just need to hire. But in my mind, there needs to be some sort of a pain point, or you need to understand exactly what it is you want them to do. But you can start at the big level and just say, like, what is the pain point? Write down, try to articulate them. What is it that you would want someone to be doing? And then go down and for those areas or pain points, get specific. What are the tasks? What could that person actually be doing? And then look into, do you have processes for any of this stuff? Okay, because if you hire someone and you don't have a process for them to follow, it's not the end of the world, but be aware you're going to have to take that time and do that with them. Either maybe if it's literally in person, you could train them, and that's going to take some time. If it's remote, you might have to record some videos or work online or do like a screen share with them, or you're going to just have to spend time building the process. Okay, and so this takes time, and if you're already feeling tapped out, this can get pretty stressful. The only thing I would say is you might have to suffer a little bit to increase your output and your overall productivity and honestly happiness, but it's worth it. Just be aware going into that this can certainly take some time. Okay, so we've talked about just kind of a broad overview of that, but what will they do? Okay, if you don't have a process yet, just write down what is it that you want them to do. Okay, how will they do it? Do they need a computer? Do they need anything specific? Do they need software? Another big one is, like, how should they communicate with you? And you should communicate this to them, like when you hire them or before. Do you like email? Do you prefer them to use Slack? Do they have any experience with this stuff? You want to make sure that you bring this up ahead of time. And then also, what does success look like? Okay, for them to succeed with you, what does that look like? And then vice versa. So in order for them to do a good job, what would you expect? And communicating that clearly. All right. So I know a lot of people too get stuck on, coming up with, well, I can't hire, I don't need anyone, or nobody can do what I can do. And all I can say is you need to really get out of that mindset. You're not a snowflake. If it's not, core to growing your business, or, a lot of the stuff can be done or made into a process and outsourced. So just as a short list of some of the stuff, like formatting documents, creating and sending invoices, social media posting, right? From templates, you can create a bunch of templates or hire someone who knows how to already do this. Social media responses, right? Dealing with the back and forth on there. Blog post formatting, blog post posting, formatting and creating special or unique images for blog posts. Email drafting, okay? You might want to have someone draft an outline and then you go in and do the editing. Email scheduling, all right? So you don't have to go in there and be dealing with that all the time. Managing your appointments, answering your phone, again, graphical design of all sorts, shopping, right? Who said that this had to be directly related to your business? You could start outsourcing some of the stuff that's tying you up in other areas of your life. General research, whether it's for your business or something you're interested in doing. And of course, the list just goes on and on, but I've found that those are some ones you can really get started with quickly. All right, so If I had to give someone, and I get this, it's like, what should I do as far as getting started quickly? It's kind of an action plan. I would say, identify 3 specific tasks that you could outsource or delegate. Write them down. Literally just get out a piece of paper or pull up a notepad and write that down. Along with the estimated time you think it would take someone to complete it. Okay, maybe not you. If it's something you've been doing for years, you might want to think about that and say, how long would this realistically take someone to do if they had a checklist and they had to do it on their own. Then hop on to Upwork.com, all right, and look for keywords associated with that task. So let's take the social media posting. If you went on there, you could probably just type in social media. That might be a little vague because there's a lot around social media, but you could say maybe even just social media posting and start going from that. And, can you afford that? Look around for what people are doing, what they're charging. And if so, just freeing up that time, would allow, if that freeing up that time allows you to do things that replace that income, then it obviously starts to make sense very quickly. The other part to this is, you don't have to hire someone directly for that task, in the sense that they don't have to be a specialized super social media guru. If you have really good processes, you can bring in someone who you could train quickly. Again, depending on how complicated or nuanced the entire process is. But a lot of times I think people make that mistake of looking like, oh, I need to hire a social media expert, when all they need is someone who can draft and post or schedule things, using tools like Buffer, and maybe create some images. And, you can find one or a group of people maybe to work together to do that for you, and save a lot of time and money as compared to maybe having like a professional manager. So, all right. After that, create a post detailing what you need to get done. Again, this would be for Upwork or other job sites. And then I highly, highly suggest using a hiring funnel. And I'm not going to go into the details here, but you can check out Outsource Kingpin if you Google that. That's through Semantic Mastery. It's a really cool way of automating a lot of this stuff where, the back and forth and, dealing with people who aren't paying attention to details. And you really do want to weed out a lot of the people quickly. If you put out a post, you're going to get a ton of responses. And this is a way to, really quickly get down to the best of the best, so that you're getting the high quality people and not having to do guesswork or do like face-to-face interviews with everyone, which can be a huge time sink. So hopefully that is helpful as far as kind of the first steps about going in and building that team. Part of this also then moves into managing. And I think that's a topic for a different time. But I think that this is a great way for people to get started, to kind of dip the toes in the water, or just to go ahead and start building that team. And again, there's so many areas that you can do this to start saving yourself some time, save your sanity, kind of free yourself up to work on some more important places in your business. So I'm going to check real quick here for any last minute questions. All right, I don't see anything, so that'll do it for this week. Again, if you're watching the replay, you can join us live. Down in the description, you can find the link. Click on that, come join us. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can hit subscribe and stay up to date. So that'll do it. And thanks, everybody. I'll see you next week.